Oh, yes, Rastafari live. Blessed love to each and every one. And this is the second part of the mystery of the ark. We're talking about the Ark of the Covenant. We're talking about the Ark of Noah, but we're going deeper than that. We're going into the science of what the ark really means. So if you missed the first part of this online lecture, we have decided to, break it down into parts. We did a part one. If you missed it, all you have to do is return to our YouTube page, Priest Isaac YouTube channel, and you will see part one just before this. So this is the second part that we are doing for you. But before we continue that lecture, that presentation on the ark, let us just remind you that the 11th of September is coming up. Yes, I know it's the Ethiopian New Year, but we're talking about Rastafari, Haile Selassie, and Islam. This is going to be, I think, our second online, second online contribution lecture. Not our second online lecture, but the second lecture where we will be taking a contribution for the lecture. So in other words, it's not like the regular online lecture where you pay to see it. In fact, you don't have to pay at all. It's free, because it's going to be public to the people, to the public really. But we are asking for those who understand the value of the lectures and the information, especially if it has benefited you. I mean, if you're watching and you're saying, hey, listen, man, this doesn't mean a thing to me. I don't get a thing from what the fella's doing here. Well, of course, you shouldn't contribute. I wouldn't even want you to send nothing to me. But if you know for a fact that, hey, man, I'm getting some good information here. This is actually adding to my life. In fact, I've become a better person since I've been listening to this stuff. Well, I think it's actually your duty, to be very honest, to even contribute to what we are doing here. But of course, we're not here to headlock nobody or twist your arm. We are expecting you to, act with the nature of a human, a good nature, knowing that, hey, this information is good. It's a contribution lecture. You can make a contribution using the CashApp, Priest Isaac 27, or the PayPal, Priest Isaac's Institute. And I mean, if it's a bit complicated for you, all you have to do is to go into the description, which is below this video, and you will see the link to the Cash App, you will see the link to the PayPal, and you can email me if none of these links are something that you prefer to use, and we'll give you another choice as it relates to making the money transfer towards us for that contribution lecture. So definitely, my family, as I said, we will be continuing now as we go into or continue the lecture as it relates to the mystery of the ark, as we're talking about not just the Ark of the Covenant, but the ark of God in Kemet. The one with the boat and 8 people has the same name as the Muslim Noah in the Quran. The same Nuh with the boat and 8 people. Because it's the same story, and we all know which one is older. This is the oldest one we are looking at here. This is the one that they were writing off quickly in the museum before they decided to burn it down and burn up the scrolls. And then they came out with the Noah story. So the point is now that it is a creational story. And the ark now, this is where the ark is coming to life here. The ark represents the presence of God. Remember, Noah is a God figure. Now let us return again to what we are to understand about this Ark of the Covenant. And before we jump on the covenant now, Moses, now Mr. Moses is definitely another God figure. If you really span the Old Testament, Moses is basically the chief figure. You have your Abraham, you have even Melchizedek stand out, but I mean, that's a chapter and a verse or whatever. Moses is the man that changed the whole game. Moses is not just a prophet. Moses was like a king to Israel, and Moses was higher than a priest. Moses was God. Now, this again can be seen in the understanding of his creational birth. Moses, after he was given birth by his mother, because they were looking to kill the young Israelite boys, Moses' mother, placed him in an ark and sent him up the river. Now, there's so much depth into Moses going up the river and coming to his Egyptian mother and still being given back to his Israelite mother. There's depth there, but that will have to be for another time. But the point is that Moses was placed in an ark and sent up the river. Now, we all believe that Moses was placed in a basket because they show you the picture of him in the basket, and they take off the basket lid, and his sister Miriam followed him up the river. All of that is deep, and I know we have spoken about that aspect, the Miriam and the water. So if you notice, Moses was not just put in an ark. He was placed on the water and then sent up the river. Noah was building an ark, but the ark don't function until the water come down, and then it start to float, and those who was inside were saved because of the presence of God. Even the animals get saved, and new creation. So Noah's status, no mind what the story say, and God was vexed with him, and he killed a man and had to run from the Egyptians. I mean, it's a story. And again, let me be clear, especially to the students and the scholars, just to refresh if you're not, au fait with our meditation, all things that are symbolic are also literal. So any symbolic story you read, Jonah went into the belly of the fish, it is true. It doesn't mean that a man named Jonah went inside a fish. But the story as it has been told to us in its allegorical form, for sure. Historically, it has happened. There was a man that had to go into the depths of the earth, the belly of the beast, whether it's Babylon or America. He had to go into the belly of the beast and fight off all the serpents, etc., etc. And when it comes to the symbolic writings, it doesn't just happen once. It's things that happen in the cosmic cycle, maybe every 2,160 years. That's why people can come and say, well, I was the Jonah that went into the belly of the fish, and I go in the ground now for 3 days and 3 nights. And then somebody else come and say, well, I'm him that went in the ground for 3 days and 3 nights. Because the cosmic cycle, the Aquarius age, the Pisces age, the Aries age, all of this is key. So in the age of Moses now, in the whole storyline, although we just swift past it, it's very important. He was put in an ark. The word is not just thrown around. King James version of the Bible. And he was sent up the river. So his beginning is that of being in the presence of God, or being God. But that is what it means. Now, this same Moses is the man. After going up into Mount Sinai and receiving the commandments, he was given instructions, I should say, on preparing not just the ark, but altar and all sorts of different tables of shewbread and laver and the foot and many different things. He was given the instruction on how to prepare it. Now, the Ark of the Covenant, the size and everything, just like Noah's Ark, the size and dimension was given. And of course, what it's supposed to be made from, of course, it was made from a specific wood known as shittim wood, which is equivalent to the acacia wood, and it was laden with gold. One of the outstanding things about the ark is the lid and the angels thereof, the cherubims. The cherubims were supposed to be facing each other. That's why you could see the different renditions here. You see the angels of the cherubims facing each other with their wings stretched forth to each other. That was very key as far as the making of this Ark of the Covenant. As I said, outlaid with gold, and it had the rings thereof for the stave. And, it's interesting, to go to the depths of it, that, again, just to highlight quickly, even in the making of the ark, you find it in certain aspects of the book that the dimensions change. Not only that, one scripture clearly says that the staves should never come out of the rings. But then another chapter and verse says that the staves were to come out and put back in when they were ready to move the ark. And again, because I just went through what I did with Noah, I'm not going to run for chapter and verse and try to read it to show it, because that will just take the time, and we're working on a specific timing. But I think that, with the maturity of even just this lecture thus far, we can understand we're dealing with a lot of symbolism here. No need to rest on that forever and ever. We have to evolve even in some of these discussions, as we continue to grow. All right, so we are there, and I think we have a good understanding of this. Now, what is this? Another rendition of the Ark of the Covenant? Interesting. Now, this here, let us go to the Torah.com, and I just want to read a few words here, a few sentences, a few paragraphs, I should say, because it's an interesting article. The poles of the Ark of Tutankhamun's chest, but it's going to go more than the poles. In fact, I'm going to skip over a few things here. Just follow me, my family. The description of what is to be done with the Ark's carrying pole seems to differ between Exodus 25 and Numbers 4. Okay, we actually just mentioned that. Medieval Jewish commentator offer many different solutions to this contradiction. But the best answer lies in what we learn from the construction of ancient Egyptian portable chests. Now, again, this is the Ark of Tutankhamun. And one of the arguments that you hear when many ones now trying to align other arks, we're going to get to them, with the ark in the Bible is dimensions. And some people will say, well, it's not the same dimension. But again, depending on what version you're reading and time frame, this is where the argument comes in. But let me just read what I was explaining a moment ago, since we are already here. Exodus 25 presents a detailed formal description of the tabernacle and its contents. The first item described is the Ark of the Testimony, which is regarded throughout the Bible by a variety of names as the central object in any legitimate Israelite worship. It says the ark is designed to be carried by poles. The text specifies that these are to be inserted into 4 gold rings at each of the ark's 4 feet. It adds that the poles should always stay in the ark's rings. All right. And it says here, Exodus 25, verse 15, the poles shall remain in the rings of the ark. They shall not be removed from it. And then it says here, this is consistent with the description of Solomon's temple. All right, good. But it says also now, there's a part where it's showing you that the poles now are supposed to be removed from, from the actual place. Let me just read all of this for you. So it says, Solomon tells us now, this is 1 King 8, verse 8. The poles project so that the ends of the poles are visible in the sanctuary in front of the shrine, but they could not be seen outside. And there they remain to this day. All right. And he talks about other things that are made. Now, Numbers 4, however, as part of the instruction regarding the preparation of the tabernacle for transport from place to place in the wilderness, states that in the course of preparing the ark for carriage, its carrying poles should be inserted by Aaron and his son. And it says here, and they shall put its poles in place. But the poles of the arks are already in place. How can they be put in when preparing the ark for transport? All right, and let me say here, as I said, I don't want to stay forever looking at contradictions, but I'm showing you it so you can understand that we're dealing with another level of science here. The 2 priestly texts, that is something we discussed when we went through the whole aspect of the Noah's story, because you have the priestly text and you have the P text and the J text. The Yahweh text and the Elohim text and these different things. That's why you have 2 stories in one chapter. Portable Egyptian chest. The ark is a portable wooden chest made in typical Egyptian style. Okay. And extant extant chests from the ancient Near East, particularly Egypt, ancient Near East, particularly Egypt, reveal parallels to almost every detail of the ark as described in priestly and other biblical texts. Pardon me. So what this is saying is that there are several arks in the Near East, ancient Near East, particularly in Egypt, say East Africa, but anyway, and they're very similar, almost in every detail, to the biblical ark and the biblical text as it relates to such. Indeed, a gable-libbed chest found in the tomb of the 14th century pharaoh Tutankhamun, which is equipped with carrying poles, which is the picture that we saw above here, and also this is the picture that we have on the slides. So there is a ark of Tutankhamun, which according to the archaeologists and the scientists is very similar, even as it relates to dimensions, to the ark in the Bible. Now again, the argument here, just so we can understand, is not that this is the real ark, or that one is the real ark, or none of that. In my book, there's several arks, because the ark itself is created in such a way that it creates ark. Which ark now? Remember, ark is current and electricity. The same ark of the covenant, they said when they were carrying the ark to its permanent home, or to Jerusalem, I should say, to Jerusalem, that one of the brothers, Uzziah, touched the ark when the ark was falling off of the carriage, because the oxen slipped or something and the ark was tripping over, and he went to touch the ark, and they said the anger of the Lord was kindled against him. And you don't want the anger of the Lord to be kindled against you, and lightning or something lick him out. So he got like a jolt of ark welled in from the ark of the covenant. So he fell down. So we're looking here at another rendition of the ark. We're talking about the ark of Anpu, or the ark of Anubis, as the writer just explained to you a moment ago. In ancient Kemet, or in the ancient Near East, you have several of these chests that have a similar outlook as it relates to that which is described in the Bible. And we cannot overlook the character Anpu, which is the same Anubis, because he is considered the god of the North Pole of the sky. When what's his name there, the good scientist amongst us, Dr. Charles Fitch, speaks of the coming in of the cosmic king, Cephas or Kephas, in the northern celestial pole. It is Anpu, or the jackal, that has to make way for the Ethiopian king to come in. So this is very key, that Anpu or Anubis is seen on a living ark. Now these ark, why I'm saying a living ark, is because these are literal things that are in museums now today, you understand. But outside of that, very pretty, very, very pretty. And you see it here with the very same staves that are used to carry the mighty ark, as described even in the scriptures. All right, so don't lose track where we are. We're talking about the ark, we're talking about the bark, we talked about the ark of the covenant, we talked about Noah's ark, we talked about Moses' ark, the one he was put in when he was born, and we're talking about the ark that he made, and we're talking about Tutankhamun's ark. Tutankhamun is not no shady character. Tutankhamun is the Quetzalcoatl of the East. Tutankhamun is the fetid snake. Tutankhamun is the most illustrious Nesut that has ever been discovered as far as his burial chambers. Tutankhamun carries the bird and the snake, the feathered snake, on his head. Tutankhamun and Akhenaten and these people are people that
that some individuals who are trying to search for the truth align with Moses and say the real Moses is Tutankhamun and the real Moses is Akhenaten and this and that and this and that. That is why now they're telling. That's why some people will tell you that this ark and these arks are the real arks and not the Ark of the Covenant. But there are many arks. There are many arks. Give thanks to Anpu. So of course, within our ancient hieroglyphs now, we have always expressed, you know, the rendition of the ark, as you could see it here. In fact, before we even touch that, let me just read this quickly. One more article. This one is from galaxy.com. Speaking of Tutankhamun, the Ark of the Covenant, Tutankhamun, the Tabernacle and the Ark of the Covenant. This is from Alan R. Millard. And it says here, Tutankhamun's treasures help us understand more clearly two things which are described in the Bible. Both belong to the time of the Exodus. That is, within a century of Tutankhamun's burial, 1352, BCE. The first is the Tabernacle, the sacred tent shrine where God was present. In Tutankhamun's tomb, 4 gold-plated shrines protected the embalmed body, each fitting inside the other and all made to take apart, like the Israelites' tabernacle. Here is seen the outermost of the 4 shrines. All right. So that is now one aspect it is showing you of the ancient Tutankhamun outside of the ark, but he's showing you now the tabernacle or the shrine, similar to that which is there in the ancient Kemet. Also, this also taken from, this is another article, nykdaily.com, and this is showing the connection between Akhenaten, the Ark of the Covenant, and monotheism. And the same way again, as was said before, we don't have to run through everything here. Of course, you would know Akhenaten is the great Kemetic king again, who some say is the father of Tutankhamun, some say is his uncle, some say is his brother. You know how it is with Egyptologists and the guesstimation here. But for sure, he's the individual that we know that stood out in Amana with the rule of the Aten. And so he's a very key individual in the ancient Kemetic history. And he's also seen with the ark of, well, with an ark. And again, the arks that we are all describing now, the dimensions similar to Ark of the Covenant, height, length, everything very similar to the Ark of the Covenant. We have already seen the Ark of Tutankhamun. We done see Akhenaten with his ark. We've seen the Ark of Anpu. And again, we've spoken of other arks outside of the Ark of the Covenant, the Ark of Noah and the ark that Moses was put in. So we're growing here with an understanding of what this ark thing is about. And remember, we already showed you the ark in geometry, geology, and electricity, which is to me the main point, and time and sound and space as well, the ark. All right. So let us look here now, womaninthebible.net. And this here, and even before we go to the womaninthebible.net, let me just first of all again say thanks to all of those who are present with us, pardon me. And what you are looking at here is just an excerpt of one of our previous lectures that we did, our online lectures. For many of you wouldn't have seen the fullness of that one. That is the mystery of the ark. You would have heard us advertising it, but because you did not come to the online lecture, this may be the first time you're getting a bit of it. And of course, as you see, we're doing it in pieces and in parts, but we are also highlighting the upcoming online lecture, which is Saturday, the 11th of September. That is the next upcoming online lecture, 7 p.m. sharp. This one is the one you don't want to miss: Rastafari, Haile Selassie, and Islam. And unlike most of the online lectures that we have done, there will not be an admission fee for this one. It's actually free for the whole public to see. And we are
seeing it as an online contribution lecture, the second of its kind that we have done. And all you have to do for this one is just to make a contribution, whatever the contribution may be. Once you make a contribution, for sure, it will be recorded and you will be noted without a doubt. But of course, the lecture is free. An individual doesn't have to contribute to see it, but we are actually working with you, not in the sense of something mandatory, but something heartful. You know, those of you who have the heart and understand, you know, the value of the information, and you really appreciate it, and it has done something for you, and you find it that you should make a contribution towards this lecture. That's why we're opening the door for you. So definitely, as you could see, all the information is there. You could definitely make the contribution using the CashApp or the PayPal. For sure, the description, in the description below this video, you have all the information you want. The link is right there. Just press the link and it will carry you straight to the Cash App or carry you straight to the PayPal information. So my brothers and sisters, I want you to stay tuned for the third part of this presentation. It may be up already after you have seen this. So just go looking for it in our YouTube channel. That's Priest Isaac's YouTube channel. That will be the third part to this whole aspect dealing with the Ark, the mystery of the Ark, the mystic of the Ark of the Covenant, the Ark of Noah, the ancient Egyptian Kemetic arks. And now we're going to go into other places where you would find the remnants or the presence of the Ark. Yes, I.